Yo, we just changed the game with this one. Introducing AG number 2, the newest groundbreaking artificial intelligence software in the game. We got things like AI text generator, AI image generator, AI code generator, AI chat box, AI text to speech, and voiceover capabilities. Yes, it does coding. Yes, it does images. It literally does everything. Make sure you click the link at the top line of the description box. If you're a content creator, if you're an artist, if you're just a regular person that want to take your life to the next level, trust me, click that link at the top line.
Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here. I'm good. My sound is good and all that.
Sound great.
Great.
Sound great. Look
Excellent.
great. Everything is wonderful. So thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
on. No,
Thank you
thank
for
you.
having me again. Thank you. Thank you for
Indeed, we
having me.
appreciate you. So, oh God, why don't you go ahead, do your thing?
Yeah, so yeah, we definitely sent a text message, wanted to talk to you. We were like, yo, we was like, we need to get an attorney on here. And then you popped up. My mom like, yeah, we got to get her on. So I sent you a text message. Thank you for coming. But wanted to get your thoughts on this
Yeah.
the Diddy thing that's transpired over the last 3 months. First, it was the Cassie came out with the lawsuit, and
Right.
now it's escalated all the way to the FBI or the HSI raiding his house.
Right.
Give us your bird's eye view of the situation from
Okay.
your seat if you can.
Sure. Sure. So to be clear, I want people to understand that even though it was Homeland Security that executed the warrants, those warrants came out of the Southern District of New York.
Right.
Right. So the United States Attorney in New York, they're investigating him, and they are going to be the ones who are likely prosecuting the case. So the prosecution is going to come out of the United States Attorney's office in the Southern District of New York, which is in Manhattan. Right.
Wow.
So all those
Right.
warrants came from there.
Hmm.
What's
That's
what
first and foremost.
what's the
First and
significance behind that?
Well, so the Southern District has a reputation for being very thorough, being very competent, being their success rate is 97% conviction rate.
Ooh.
Mm.
Yeah, it's probably higher than that. It's probably like 98. It's very high. And so they're not playing. The fact that they had a simultaneous execution of warrants on multiple properties tells me, as an attorney, based on my training, my experience, that they have a wealth of evidence already, right? Because in order to get a warrant, you have to establish that there already exists probable cause at the location, right? That there's some type of evidence that will support these charges. And so you have to demonstrate that before a judge. You have to lay out some type of evidence showing that at this location, we're going to find evidence of sex trafficking, sexual assaults, narcotics possession and distribution, firearms possession, illegal firearm distribution. They had to demonstrate that. They demonstrated something, right? Enough that a judge would sign a warrant for a public figure like Sean Combs. No judge is going to do that lightly. No judge is going to do that lightly. So the fact that it was done on multiple properties tells me they already have a significant amount of evidence against him. And so they're just looking for more, right? So likely the interviews that they have been conducting of the different victims, different witnesses, have led them to conclude that maybe some of those videos that people have been talking about, that Cassie had alleged in her lawsuit, I believe that the other guy, his name was Rob, I forget his whole name, but he worked with Diddy as well. He talked about videos and whatnot. So the idea that there might be videos on the premises, right, was probably something that these people shored up for the federal authorities enough that there was probable cause. Because it can't just be mere suspicion that there might be video. Somebody had to go in there and say, no, I've seen the videos. I've seen the videos. I was there and he showed me a video. Somebody had to say that in order for them to get a warrant to search your home.
Mm. So
Yes.
my next question will be, all right, you said they have some type of evidence to go in there. Why
Okay.
no arrest
Oh,
at the time of going into the
coming.
house?
It's coming. It's
Wow.
coming. The feds are very thorough. And they conduct their prosecutions in the opposite fashion that states do, right? So states typically will arrest you and then investigate and then determine whether or not they have enough quantum of evidence to move forward, enough evidence to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The feds don't do that. The feds do it the opposite way. They investigate first and they make sure they have all of their ducks in a row before they make an arrest. And because he is such a public figure, they're not going to misstep. They're not going to do anything prematurely, and they're not going to be pressured by social media or public pressure to do anything before they're ready. Before they're ready. So they want to, they want to make sure that they have all the witnesses they need. They want to make sure that they have as much evidence as they can get before they make an arrest. But it's inevitable. I think an arrest is inevitable.
Wow.
The fact that they didn't give him, some sort of any type of grace, like, let's bring them in and talk to them and see if they didn't do any of that. They didn't do any of that. They just raided his properties. That is huge. That's huge.
I was going to ask you one question, but you said something about social media. So let me put a pin in that, pivot to the social media. So often on this platform, we talked about the influence of social media, public perception, how obviously that can sway the public eye, but how influential is it to the legal side of things? So can you break that down? You said that they're not swayed by social media. They're not pressured by that. So how much influence does social media have?
Okay, I did not say they're not influenced or pressured. I said they would not be influenced or pressured to make an arrest before they were ready.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But everyone is I want to say is subject to the pressures of social media. It is the media of our time, right? And so no one is immune from that. In the prosecutor's office, they respond to that. You see what happened with R. Kelly. If it wasn't for the documentary, right, some of these things may have not been known, and then maybe the federal government may not have been involved. And the same is true here. These civil lawsuits have shed a light on things that have always remained rumor and innuendo up until now. Right? So we've heard about the Diddy parties, or some of us have, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen the rumors and the side talks and the slick comments from this rapper or that rapper, and but it's all been rumor and innuendo. Right? It's all been speculation until we saw lawsuits which actually laid out specific allegations. And while there are allegations, there actually was a person tied to making that allegation, which gave it a little bit more credibility. It wasn't just someone random, saying, no, Diddy had a party and they have some freak offs. And no, this was someone who was detailing their experience. Right. And so we hadn't had that. And it's really difficult for law enforcement officials to ignore those type of allegations. Right. And so once the Cassie lawsuit was filed, I bet my house they started an investigation. Then I bet they started an investigation then. And then the subsequent lawsuits only made it worse. It was like fuel on the fire at that point, especially when there was at least one that mentioned underage girls, right? Or at least the one girl who said that she was brought to the studio when she was 17 years old. I think this is the one. She had a picture of herself sitting on his lap. And then she said she was raped by 3 people. Right. So that's kind of hard for law enforcement officials to ignore. Right. And so I think the lawsuits combined with the social media attention has definitely been a impetus for the federal government to respond to these allegations.
Right. And would you consider the guy Little Rod that was a producer working on his album? Would you consider him? Do you think he was an informant? Because the type of stuff that he was getting, pictures, videos, and he said he seen a lot of things. You think he was an informant or just innocent?
No, I don't think he was an informant then. I think he will be an informant now, right? I think he will be state's witness, however you want to say it. He definitely will be cooperating with the prosecution and working on their behalf because that helps his civil case. right? If there's a conviction in the criminal case, then it makes it a lot easier for you to prove your civil case. Whereas the standard of proof in a civil case is much less than in a criminal case. In a criminal case, you have to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. That's pretty high, right? But in a civil case, you only have to prove a preponderance of the evidence, which translates to more likely than not, right? So if you already have the criminal conviction, which has already established that guilt, then it's a lot easier on the civil side, and he'd be more likely to settle those civil suits after a criminal conviction.
Can you lay out New York's definition of sex trafficking to its most heinous, to its most minute definition, please?
So this is not New York's definition of sex trafficking. This is the federal government's definition of sex trafficking.
Okay.
And I don't have it verbatim, but I can tell you, if we're talking about the Mann Act, which the history of the Mann Act, the irony of the history of the Mann Act is that it started out, it used to be called the White Slave Act.
Wow.
Right? White Slave Act. And it was done to ostensibly to protect white women from the sex trafficking trade, right? From being transported over state lines for the purposes of engaging in sexual activity, prostitution, and things of that nature. What happened back then, though, it became a tool of white supremacy, and instead of it being something to protect white women, it became a law to go after black men, right? And so I think Chuck Berry was charged with it because he traveled across state lines with a white woman. Jack Johnson, I think the boxer, he was charged with it. And so there were a number of amendments to the Mann Act to mitigate its use in that way, in that discriminatory racial way. So as it stands now, basically it means taking someone across state lines for the purpose of engaging in sexual conduct that they don't want to engage in.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once you cross the state line, it becomes a federal crime.
So Diddy takes a girl, 18-year-old girl, he takes her from New Jersey to New York, and they happen to have sex in New York. That's a federal crime.
Federal crime.
Copy. Wow. Thank you.
Yep. So to have sex against her will.
Of course.
Right.
Of
Obviously, course. Right. That's built in, but I want to say that because some people think, some people might miss that part. You know what I mean? You can take people wherever you want to take them if they want to have sex on their own. You know what I mean? Right. But once you're doing it and it's something that they do not want to do, then it becomes a crime. Yeah. If they're underage, that just makes it worse.
Of course, yes. Let's kind of talk about the underage part. Is obvious. Like you're doing it with an underage, that's obvious. Let's say it's someone of age, 24 years old.
Okay.
How can one, from a law perspective, prove that she was taken and this was done to her against her will?
She could testify that I did not want to go. I felt compelled. I felt like I had no choice. Pretty much what Cassie says in her lawsuits, right? Right. She laid out. I mean, whoever the attorneys were that drafted that complaint, it read like an indictment. It read like an indictment, a federal indictment. So they knew exactly what elements to put in there to get the attention of the feds as well. Right. And so her entire thing was she always felt like she couldn't say no. Right. She didn't want to participate in any of these acts. Not only did she procure individuals to cross state lines, right? She helped with that. She was forced to procure people so that he could watch her engage in sex acts, right? And so she pretty much laid out the sex trafficking. And I think people think sex trafficking, they're thinking of it something like on a large scale, with groups and groups of people, and that's not what it is. That's not what it is at all. It's a simple. It can be very simple. Just you forcing someone to go from one state to another for the purpose of having some type of tawdry sex affair or whatever it may have you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now the other part of this is, people have said that, when he went to go sue Diego Wine and Spirits, you know, all this stuff started happening to him. Do you feed into the conspiratorial part of this? Like they're coming after black men, Bill Cosby, all these wealthy, rich, affluent black men. Do you feed into that any?
So here's what I'll say to that. I do feed into that because it's true.
Yeah.
A lot of these celebrities garner a certain level of protection, right? But what I will say is that protection has shielded them for so long that I have no sympathy when things that have been hidden start to come out and are proven, you know, and so I have it doesn't affect, for me, it does not undermine the prosecution. Let me say it like that, right? Because at the end of the day, when I think about the Diddy case, I don't give a fuck about Diddy. I'm thinking about the women that he violated. I'm thinking about the women, the young girls whose innocence was snatched away from them. I'm thinking more about them. I am. I'm thinking more about them than whether or not he is the victim of a conspiracy, because he might actually have to account for the fuck shit that he did.
Right. Now, with that being said, we always say, you know, how does anybody know he actually did that? They weren't there. So you actually believe he done the stuff that he's accused of?
So here's the thing. People need to stop with the how do we know? How do we know? How do we know? If you are a victim of a crime and you come into court and you testify that this happened to me, that's how we know. You don't need a video. You don't need one person's testimony, if credible and believable, is enough to convict. So people have to get over this whole "how do we know" thing. She said it. Cassie said she laid out all of the elements. He said it in her lawsuit. So did the other woman who was a Jane Doe. So did Rod. Right. So these things are known and these things have been established in terms of these allegations that have been brought forth. These people don't seem like they are going to shy away from the opportunity to tell their side in court. Right. So I don't see that. And just let me throw this out here. I know that a lot of people think that Diddy has everyone under an NDA. A subpoena trumps an NDA. Okay. A subpoena trumps that. So you having an NDA will not keep your ass off the stand if the prosecution subpoenas you to come and testify. The NDA is so that you don't willfully divulge secrets and things of that nature. But it's against public policy for an NDA to trump a subpoena.
Right.
Right? Because that mean that I could commit a murder and have you sign an NDA and swear your secrecy. You can't tell nobody. You can't testify about it. That would be against public policy.
Right. So we started the conversation when we said that you said an arrest is coming, right? So let's fast forward. An arrest comes, we take this to trial. In your estimation, because I know nobody knows, but what do you think the ultimate result of what's going to happen is? We've seen this happen to a number of celebrities now. So the realm of it will happen. It could happen. It could happen. It has happened. I don't want to say it will happen, but it might happen.
Yeah.
So
this is R. Kelly all over again.
Ooh.
Yep. This is R. Kelly all over again, and I presume that the trial will go pretty much just the same way, and he will be found guilty, and he will be sentenced to somewhere around 30 years in prison.
We're gonna timestamp it, and if it happens, we'll definitely
You know, the chilling part about that is when we talked, Olga and I spoke before we came on, and a lot of people criticized you when we dropped the R. Kelly conversation we had, and you were dead on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I don't say what people want me to say. And I get, I'm not here for your feelings. I don't give a fuck about your feelings. Not you per se. I'm talking about people, the followers, and I love my people. But I know that we are traumatized people and we get emotional when we don't like what we hear. Right. And that's when our cognitive dissonance sets in and we don't listen to the information that's being provided because we want to disagree with the person. And that's cool. You can do all of that. But at the end of the day, when the shit plays out, you're going to be like, damn, that bitch was right.
Man.
Now, I know it's kind of hard without, looking through all the, discoveries and all that stuff, but just briefly, what would it be like a defense strategy that he could use to possibly win? If you can give us something just briefly.
So the defense strategy, and don't call me, Sean, because I'm not going to represent you because you don't have that much money. Obviously, the defense strategy is it was all consensual. It was consensual. I didn't force anyone to do anything at any time. Nobody was holding you down. You could have left at any time. In fact, you did leave at this time. Here's the evidence of it. And you came back on your own. I didn't force you to come back. I didn't keep you here against your will. There were many opportunities for you to leave, and you chose to be here. You chose to participate in these activities, whether you say you don't like them now, because there's a difference between rape and sexual regret. I don't want this motherfucker to call me, so I don't want to be too good at the defense, because if he called, I might have to take this case. And I already said I would not take the case. But yeah, obviously you have to go through the evidence. So if someone is claiming that these acts happened against their will, then you have to demonstrate how that's not true. And you can do that through video, text messages, mail, travel, conversations, any of those things to show that this person was not being held against their will, to show that this person had free will, that they weren't being kept. But that wasn't the case in R. Kelly, right? R. Kelly, they had people coming to say that you couldn't even get food, right? I mean, the way he had these women, according to the evidence that was at that trial, that they really didn't have a choice, right? To whether to come and go. They were kept under very tight thumb, right? So I don't know that the evidence would be that, because it doesn't seem like that, according to the civil complaints, right? It didn't seem like they were restricted in that way. But sometimes pressure is in your own head.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it could be that you have a weak constitution. It could be that I'm not forcing you to do a fucking thing. You just don't know how to say no. That's different.
Right.
So, and your acquiescence led me to believe that you enjoyed it. Right? Yeah. Your acquiescence led me to believe that this was okay. We wouldn't do anything wrong. And at no point did you say, I don't want to do this anymore. At no point did you say, let me stop. I want to leave. I'm going to reach out to so-and-so and see if somebody can get me a flight up out of here.
Right.
Well, when you got a flight up out of here, you flew your ass back. So I'm not saying that, that he doesn't have a defensible case, but the allegations are salacious, and Cassie makes for the type of victim that you want to feel sorry for, and so that might go a long way with the jury, even though the court is going to instruct them that they can't, convict simply because they're emotional. Again, emotions have no place in court.
Right.
Now,
so
that's how I would. That's some of what I'm not gonna give everything. That's some of what I reckon, because I know these motherfuckers be watching it.
They act like they don't,
but yeah. So that's some of how I would approach it as a defense attorney.
Now we were talking to Bill Cosby's crisis manager, Andrew Wyatt, and he was talking about public opinion now, and like jurors now that are going to be in that case are seeing all this. They're watching this right now. So how's that going to play? Because for the people I hear going to the barbershops, everybody think that Diddy's a freak. He's messing with Meek Mill, all this stuff people are saying. But how's that going to play now with moving on forward to the trial? What's going on, what they're hearing in social media, what they're hearing in the media. It looks like he's cooked, in my opinion. There's no way that he can win this thing, right?
I don't think that. I'm not.
I mean, of course you ain't gonna say that, but
listen, I'm not giving him my defense. I'm giving it up to him. Right. What I will say because I know millions in my account, and so I'm not giving up the defense here. But what I will say to that, when it comes to jurors in social media, all jurors at some point have been exposed to things that they like or don't like, or things that they've seen on social media. The question for the court is not whether or not you've seen anything, but whether or not what you have seen has infected you in some way, or impacted you in such a way that you cannot be fair and impartial. Right. And so there are people who can be subjected to all manner of news and stories and interviews and still say, you know what? I am going to listen to the evidence that comes in the trial, and I'm going to base my verdict on the evidence and only the evidence that comes in that trial. And I'm not going to be affected by outside influences. Right? Yeah, there's jurors who can do that. I don't think they'll have a problem finding jurors who can be fair, because that's what you're looking for. You're not looking for jurors who have never heard of Puff Diddy. You're not looking for jurors who've never heard of Cassie or R. Kelly, or you're not looking for that. You're looking for jurors who, despite the fact that they've heard these things, can still be fair and impartial. And that's what now, there have been rumors and innuendo that there had been some jury tampering back in the day, at the last trial. And maybe a couple jurors got paid off, or so there's always the danger of that, right? And I think that that's less inclined to happen in a federal trial, because those marshals don't be playing.
Now he can't. Now, right now, he's pretty much under a watchful eye, because when he got, his house got raided the next day, they said they were tracking his jet.
Right.
So now he's ready to book it. He ain't going nowhere because they watch him, right?
Yeah, well, they want to make sure that he's, not a flight
risk.
I'm sorry, I'm thirsty.
No,
that he's not a risk of flight. That's going to be a factor when when they have to decide whether or not he's going to get a bail, or when they have a bail hearing after his arrest, he's going to be released pending his case. I got to open the window.
Oh yeah. We ain't got too much longer with you.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Definitely appreciate you. All right.
So flashes.
It's shining. All right. His son was recently allegations were brought up against his son. We've seen them be arrested, so public perception really look bad on them.
Which son?
The youngest one, Christian.
Oh, wow. One look like Kim Porter's son.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's the one that looks like Albie Shore.
No, not Quincy.
Oh,
this looks like Diddy.
This one look just like Diddy.
Yeah. This is the one that looks like Diddy. Okay, so there was an allegation that he was what?
Pretty much the same as his dad.
Yeah, it was
underage
rape, forcible rape on a woman. Yeah. And it's like, wow.
So here's what I think that this will be a RICO case, right? Or like not, because the way that the I want to say indictment reads, the way that complaint read, basically laid out that there were a number of people in positions that helped further this enterprise, right? Whether it was staff that were getting drugs, or staff members that were getting guns, or staff members that were getting people to come and have sex, or staff members that were cleaning up crime scenes, cleaning up bathrooms where people have been shot, or shit like that.
Right.
That's a production. That is not just you. That is not one person. That is an enterprise. And all of those things that people have engaged in are acts in furtherance of that enterprise. So his son, is it Carisha's cousin who forcibly performed the sex act on Rod? All of those people that have been named are potentially co-defendants, right? Potentially.
How about bodyguards? Like bodyguards, people like that. Bodyguards.
Anyone who participated or facilitated, right? These incidences, these acts, they're on the hook. and they don't need to know each other. I need people to understand that. One of the things that people say in conspiracy cases or RICO cases is that guy don't even know that guy. They don't even know each other. You don't need to know each other. If I'm running an enterprise, I might hire you over there to do A, B, and C, and I might hire you over there to do D, E, and F.
Gotcha.
You don't need to know each other.
Right.
But y'all both working in furtherance of the enterprise. You feel me?
Yeah.
So the son could be on the hook. The managers could be on the hook. Bodyguards on the hook. Could be a whole lot of people. And the beauty of that from a prosecution perspective is that it becomes about self-preservation because I'm not going to jail for you. Right. So that hopefully that's what people are saying. And they become state's witnesses. And all of those statements and things that have been said between all of that shit comes into evidence. It's not a hearsay. It's not precluded by hearsay because these are co-conspirator statements. So the evidence, when you charge a RICO, the rules of evidence allow you to get so much more into evidence, and you're allowed to relate back because sex trafficking on a federal level, there's no statute of limitation for that.
Wow.
There's no statute of limitation for that. So they get to reach way back, And I'm sure that there are people that might be coming out of woodwork that we haven't heard from, right? People who might not want to expose themselves into a civil lawsuit at this time, but that doesn't mean that they aren't witnesses for the government for this criminal matter. So, and I've had trials in the Southern District. It's tough. It's tough. I have had some success, but it wasn't because they weren't on point.
Right.
Sometimes you really do need a talented attorney. Unfortunately, out of all the lawyers in the United States, it's only like 1 or 2% of us that are actually trial lawyers. It's a very small percentage that actually, when I say trial, I mean you go into court and you're literally trying cases. A lot of lawyers sit in their offices and they write motions and they write letters and they're litigators.
Right.
That's not the same as a trial lawyer. And so when people hire lawyers, they don't really know that. Wow. And so they don't really look for trial lawyers. I already know. Listen, I'm not casting dispersion, but the lawyer that he has already is making statements he shouldn't be making. Like, shut the fuck up.
Diddy's lawyer. Wow.
Yeah, like you hired this dude first. I never heard of this motherfucker. The criminal bar in New York is very small. We kind of know everyone, right? Yeah. And if we don't know each other, we heard of each other. Like if I've never done a case with Takapina, I know him.
Right.
You know what I mean? I know him. I know the value of his work. I'm not gonna say what it is, but I know him. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Cohen. Like I might not know him personally, but I know of him. You know what I'm saying? So the guy he hired, I don't know. You gotta ask these lawyers, have you tried a case? Verdict. Because you'll say you tried a case and then somebody bled out. That's not the same.
Right. So it's fighting all the way through.
Right. Yeah. Did you try it to verdict on a state level, on a federal level? But there are not a lot of lawyers who can tell you they have that level of experience. I know I do. But there aren't a lot of me. Now, if you talk about the statistics, all the lawyers in the United States, only 5% of those lawyers are Black. And out of only 2% of them are Black women, right? So only 2% of the lawyers are Black women, and only 1% of the lawyers are trial lawyers. I am a Black woman trial lawyer. I'm a fucking unicorn.
Facts.
It's just crazy that way. That's just how it is. And when you do a sex crimes case, you need a woman defense attorney because no man is going to be comfortable in front of a jury cross-examining a woman about her sexual escapades. Just the optics alone, right, is to have a man, don't let him be tall, Like these are the things that happen in trial, these dynamics, these intangibles that people don't think about, right? But if you got a tall man, remember, a person is seated in a witness stand, just in asking of someone who has been identified as a victim about their sex, the jury will be put off by that. It will be put off by that, and no matter how well he does in the cross, it might not resonate with them. They might just end up hating your lawyer, and by extension, hating you. Right? But if you have a woman attorney asking another woman about her sexual proclivities, that has a different dynamic. It's more like, okay, women are talking. Let me listen.
Yeah.
Let me pay attention. And if it's a woman asking, then I don't feel, I feel like she's coming from a place of knowing. You know what I mean? So it's just, it creates a completely different dynamic in the courtroom. And hopefully he hears that and understands that, and finds himself somebody who can actually try this case.
If that happens to be you, we know where you heard it from. I'm just gonna say that. I'm just gonna say that.
It cannot be me. No, not interested.
So real quick, you don't think that it's his lawyer should have said anything, or he should say anything? Nothing at all.
Not at all. What for? What?
Right.
For what? What is the point? He hasn't been charged with anything. What are you saying? What are you putting out a statement for?
Right.
Wait till he's arrested, and then you can put a statement out saying, we will wait for our day in court, and we are sure we'll be vindicated.
Right.
In the meantime, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Right.
because that's a self-serving statement, in my opinion. Right. That's about the lawyer wanting other people to know that he's representing Puff. Oh, I got the Diddy case. Let me make a statement so everybody know. Shut your ass up. Stupid ass. Same thing with Jonathan Majors, right? You had a case. You needed a black woman to cross-examine that white girl, but you got some Indian chick who tried to play the race card. Get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Get out of here. And y'all want me to feel sorry for this motherfucker? Hell no. Hell fucking no. Hell no. You had many opportunities to choose a black woman. If you had done that shit, it might not be in this fucking problem in the first place. Fuck you, Jonathan Major. That shit. And his lawyer she was the worst. She hurt his case, releasing evidence on the internet, trying to make it seem like, she did more damage to his case, right? And this is a lesson to Diddy and his lawyers. This woman did more harm to Jonathan Major's case than the prosecutors. And had she not been trying to win her case on social media, she might have won her case at trial.
Wow.
Yeah. She may have won her case at trial if you wasn't trying to win on social media. Because she thought that there would be so much pressure from what she was putting out on social media that the district attorney's office would dismiss the case. Right. I'm sorry, that's my old office, right? So I'm a former prosecutor, full disclosure. Yeah. Manhattan DA's office is my old office. I knew they weren't going to drop this fucking case. One, and I knew they weren't going to charge Grace Jabari with anything because that lawyer told Jonathan 3 months after this issue, go file a complaint. Go file a complaint that she hit you. It's just too late. That shit looks highly vindictive. And, it doesn't have its merit. And what did the DA's office say? They said, we're not going to arrest us. We're not prosecuting that shit. Fuck out of here.
They brushed it off.
Yeah.
Powerful. Wow.
So lawyers, you picked the wrong lawyer. And I'm telling you, it can make a world of difference. And I know that from cases I've tried. Cases I've tried where there was a murder case I had with the brother confessed. Right. I'm 1,000% sure that if he had hired anyone other than me, he would be doing life right now. We went to trial with his confession and we won.
Wow. That's crazy.
I'm magic. Fuck.
Man.
That's magic, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let the black girl magic. We magical in court too. Shit, it just ain't enough of us.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Hopefully
definitely glad that you came on to speak to us though.
Definitely. Always my pleasure. Always my pleasure. Just shoot me a text. Let me know what's going on. I'll jump on with you guys at any time.
Appreciate it.
That's why we love you and we appreciate you.
Definitely.
Ikiesha al-Shabazz Esquire on the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast, always dropping them jewels. Hopefully y'all was listening. We appreciate you.
I love you. I really do.
Take care.
Take it easy.
Peace.
All right.
Bye-bye.